Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be back with you at the Transformational Storyteller show. I know I wasn't here last week. I was in the Dominican Republic and then Miami and all sunny places. And there's a lot to catch up on. But today I have an amazing guest with me. As my dear Sherry. Jerry, you are a delight, and I am so happy that you're here with us. And I'm going to share a little bit about Jerry Schaefer. So, today's conversation is going to be about the three principles to flip the script from suffering to paradise. So that's going to be amazing. And Jerry is an award-winning author with a master's degree in theology. He has dedicated his life to exposing patriarchy. Listen up. And following the great success of his books, number one is Women Down Through the Ages, How Lies Have Shaped Our Lives. That was published in 2008. And then the second one is From Patriarchy to Paradise. And it's about time. That's part of the title. The Stumbling Block to Paradise. He's currently working on a novel titled 2050 Living in Paradise. So we're starting to see a pattern here from Jared. And his mission is to spread the message that each of us harbors within the seed of paradise, encouraging us to dare let it out, water it, and let it grow. Beautiful analogy. And we will share how you can get in contact with Jerry with the show notes. But for now, let's just welcome you, Jerry. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I feel wonderful.
Yes, well, I feel wonderful that you're here with us. It's really, really amazing that we published the Voices of Transformation book, and now your story is out there. But for those people who have not read it or just want to experience the delight of you sharing it in your own words, would you share your story for everyone to hear?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Excellent.
All right, this is three principles to flip the script from suffering to paradise. I wish I were dead. I wish I were dead. One day, when I was a sophomore in high school, I was taking out the garbage to the incinerator when I stopped midway, set down the metal container onto the asphalt roadway, and allowed tears of sadness to blur my vision and wet my cheeks. In that chilly Montana evening, I saw no reason to be alive. I was living in hell. My mind pummeled me with dire messages, despair, and an intense feeling of not fitting in. There was no one to talk to at school, at home. I was alone. With the mixture of salty tears and the refrain overwhelming me, I desperately needed a hopeful measure to counter these suicidal thoughts. In that quiet interlude of emptiness, some words surfaced, draped around an idea for survival. If you can continue to live, you'll show that life is possible on this planet. Your continuation will serve as a demonstration that life is possible no matter the circumstances. I accepted the challenge, not thinking of the responsibility it entailed. I wondered where those words came from. Certainly not from me. I was beyond being able to come up with anything positive. The moment felt sacred. I felt like I was being pulled, being called to move in a new direction. I now possessed purpose. I sensed that we were designed, destined for paradise, what would have been called heaven in my childhood, and that it had to do with people. It necessitated community. To find community, I resolved that I needed to water down some of my strict religious beliefs of my childhood, I would now join party hardy friends, start drinking and having fun. I instinctively felt that I had to think and act like others in order to be accepted. That strategy got me through high school, but after graduating, I was confronted with the same problems, only I was on my own now. In my search for paradise, I tried everything from living in a monastery for 4 years, believing that I had a vocation to become a priest, to living in communes and a hippie life after I graduated from college in 1964 and getting my master's degree in 1966. Resigned to the fact that the paradise I was looking for did not exist, I began a 35-year teaching career that failed, just like two marriages and one long-term relationship did. And despite the destruction I caused, ruining lives in some cases, and the suffering I endured for hurting not just others, but myself as well, still I somehow kept going. Like there was something in us that propelled us forward, that wanted us to succeed at life. After solo travels throughout Europe and Japan and spiritual retreats to Greece, Norway, Hawaii, and Canada, and at 64 years old, I realized that the problem is patriarchy, which fosters division, hierarchy, and competition, the beliefs that keep us locked out of paradise. We are divided by sex, by skin color, by religious beliefs, by class, and a host of other factors. I became aware that when we filter what happens to us through the lens of paradise, we will find enjoyment in our daily experience of life, regardless of our circumstances. I have observed three principles to flip the script from suffering to paradise. Number one, it's your life. We've been on this plane of existence for 20, 30, maybe 50 years. That's enough time for us to have learned that our bodies deserve and need to thrive, to be healthy physically, emotionally, and spiritually. If not, they're not at ease. According to American Professor Emeritus of Medicine and the creator of the Stress Reduction Clinic, John Kabat-Zinn, quote, one very important domain of our lives and experience that we tend to miss, ignore, abuse, or lose control of as a result of being in the automatic pilot mode is our own body, unquote. We are meant to take care of ourselves, to avoid inviting trouble, pain, and suffering for ourselves and inflicting pain on others. Because, as psychologist and PhD from Harvard, Danielle Goldman puts it, quote, emotions are contagious. We catch feeling from one another as though they were some kind of social virus, unquote. Start treating your body as a sacred temple. It will reward you. Health. Number two, it's not your life. Yes, it seems like we have an individual separate life/existence apart from others. But if we were able to blot out everything physical that we see in this room and only see what's invisible, we'd see an incredible array of conscious and unconscious connections between ourselves and other forms of life. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Aaron Schrodinger stated, the total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is a singularity phasing within all beings, unquote. As we take care of nature and react positively to her, it will sense that harmony. Number three, life is the present moment, happiness. We are not here to suffer. We are born to bring joy to each other, to enrich one another with our particular talent, our take on life. We're meant, like all of nature, to thrive, to bloom, to bear the daily fruit of our existence to each other, and thus increase tenfold our emotional and spiritual fruit. There are growing pains on the way to adulthood and beyond. One of the main ones, learning to tamp down, to tame the ego. That involves becoming aware of our constant thinking, Suffering and thinking are intimately connected. Susan Nolan Huxema, professor of psychology at Yale, shared that, quote, research shows that repetitive thinking doesn't just reflect suffering, it amplifies and prolongs it, unquote. The reason you're suffering is not what is happening to you, it's your reaction to it because our template is to go to the past. This happens to me all the time. Instead, we could say, this happened, and now these are my options. Now, this moment is the only time we have. No one has ever discovered the future. It's always now. By learning to live and accept the mystery of the unknown in the present moment, we learn to use time rather than being used by it. Our days can be filled with play and laughter, creating art and listening to each other, learning, laughing, dancing, creating happiness. As Thich Nhat Hanh used to say, quote, the present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it, unquote. Look at your life at this moment. You're alive and laughing, breathing. You're living among other human beings. You're not alone. You're aware of the sacred dimension, both within you and without in nature. Recognize that you reside in paradise. That's why, as an award-winning author, I've dedicated my life to promoting paradise and exposing patriarchy. I am focused on writing books and speaking to spread the message that each of us harbors within the seed of paradise, encouraging us to dare to let it out, water it, and let it grow. So here's my invitation to you. When you wake up in the morning, recite 3 words: health, happiness, and harmony. Feel a gentle smile on your face. And remember, paradise is possible and you are already there.
Wow. Thank you so much. Wow. 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 What an inspiring story. And what, just amazing principles that you share with us during those few minutes. It's mind blowing, all of the wisdom that you were able to distill into these few words. And one of the things that I appreciate you sharing in the story is about how our thinking has to do so intimately with our suffering. So we're going to explore that. But first, you shared a very intimate, personal, vulnerable story. Why do you think it's important to share our stories with others?
Well, our stories, the narratives that we form, they're really the fabric of our life. I mean, we tell each other's stories to remember and to help others because each of us has something in us that is tied to others, is tied to others living, and our stories can remind others things they may have forgotten about their own, and it connects us to them, and it's kind of the way we continue our lives, our culture.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate you saying that because I think that stories have been around since the beginning of time. And one of the things that I, appreciate about working on this story with you is just how you were able to say it's our life, but it's not our life, and to quote experts that said that the total minds in this existence is one. So when we think about stories, how does everything fit into it? I was itching to ask you this question. So do you feel that the beings and the creatures and the ecosystems that we share our mind with, how do they tell their story?
Wow, that's a deep question. Yeah, I think that that we are all connected, not just to each other, but to the ecosystem, to the earth. And it's by listening, by tuning into that we learn. Because I think each of us, in a way, is a microcosm of the earth. And each of us has within us the knowledge that we can act find out if we're able to listen. And that involves your earlier question about thinking, because most of us are pretty caught up in almost 24/7 thinking. Our minds are going, going, going. So the thinking is kind of a static that gets in the way of our tuning into what the universe is trying to tell us, what the earth is the wisdom. And
Yeah.
that's what I think is how it all connects.
I love it. I love it so much. I think, I believe in that. And I think every single time I interact, because I do, I interact with trees and with animals and even with the soil. And it is always sending supportive messages, I believe. So there are so many studies that share how nature is an antidepressant, how nature is a place to commune with the divine, how nature is also a place that is restorative for our bodies. So I really love what you just shared. And tell us about, I told you that I was going to ask you about the overthinking or the thinking in general, right? Because you talked about two different concepts. One, that thinking creates suffering, but also that emotions are contagious, right? And so, how does the work that you do relate to these two concepts? And can you tell us a little bit more about how that shows up in our everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, I found that the less I think, the better. I mean, it's not that thinking is harmful. I mean, that's our real advantage as human beings, but it's helpful if we don't identify with it, if we don't like sometimes I'll be thinking about, oh, if I was just why did I do that thing yesterday or last year? So I get involved in and then invites blame and guilt, and so I get caught up in that. I don't need to think about that. So that's
Mm.
wasting time and energy thinking like that. It can be used constructively if we're more aware, if we're not, if I become aware of the useful thinking I'm doing, then
Mm.
I can have time, I can settle down and use it constructively.
Mm.
And, part of that is just not paying attention. I mean, I tend not to pay attention to what directions. I mean, I learned that in our course, working with you, that sometimes if I don't follow directions, I go down rabbit holes and waste time and energy. I don't get things done.
Yeah.
I mean, just one example, it ties into what you were just talking about, connected with nature. I mean, I've had this sleeping pad that connects you to the earth. You wear it, you put it on your bed, and so I've used that for years, and I just realized just yesterday that I haven't been using it right. I wasn't following directions.
Oh,
I was putting it under the sheet instead of on top of it. So I
wow.
wasn't connected to it because I wasn't following directions. I wasn't paying attention. So
Amazing.
so thinking is really, I think it's at the heart of what I'm thinking, what I'm talking about, because it ties into the ego, and they kind of work together to sort of sabotage us. I found that it sabotages me, and the less that I'm able to, the more space I can create by not thinking. Then that invites wisdom, intelligence of the universe. That we're then opening ourselves to that. And um, I mean, in a way that really flips the script in the
Mm,
sense that if negative things happen to me, well, they're not really negative because I'm learning from them. If I accept them, oh, I did that. Okay, that I see that. Now I can, correct that instead of, oh, why did I? So everything can turn out to be a positive. We don't have to make mistakes. We learn from what we do.
I love it. And how I love that you mentioned that because one of the things that you talk about is flipping the script and talking about patriarchy and I hope that everyone was paying a lot of attention when you were describing what patriarchy is. And I would love to hear more about that. But how do we turn from patriarchy if it's what we many of us were born to?
Boy, that's not easy. I mean, yeah, I think I spent practically my whole life, my whole adult life, unlearning that. I mean, patriarch. I grew up in a patriarchy family, and sex was very important. That was my when I went out into the world as a young adult. Um, Sex was on my mind. That seemed to be the main occupation, and going after women just for that, forgetting their human person. So it's really, I mean, you can see it in the news every day with people falling, losing out their their lives because they've been found out, political lives, uh, whatever that they've. So it's a very strong. It's still, really prevalent. It's very difficult to, but bit by bit, I finally, pretty much gotten through it. But I mean, because that's part, big part of what our life is, the way it's going this very day with the war and conflict going on. I mean, that's patriarchy is a big part of that.
Yeah. And so, what is the flip to paradise? Because one of the things that I love about your story is that we are talking about how you described your life as hell, and then you take us to health, happiness, and harmony as paradise. And we know that there's disease and that there is conflict of many, there's a spectrum of conflict, of course. And then there is also unhappiness. We live in a world right now where we have rates of depression. You mentioned suicide, and then we have anxiety. And of course, we have anger and sadness and unhappiness. So, how do we tune into this paradise where there's health and happiness and harmony and forsake living in the hell that you described?
We do that by taking a deep breath and relaxing and getting in touch with our inner being, the stillness that can, because each of us has within us the sacred element that we're tied to the source of everything. We're each a part of that. By getting in touch with that, that's the part of us, the inner stillness, the inner being that doesn't change, that's always perfect. And getting in touch with that, we can sort of be connected to that, like have one foot in that
Mhm.
being that part of ourselves, and then the other foot is in the everyday reality that you're describing, that there's problems and unhappiness and depression. And when we have one foot in each one, the one in the sort of perfect, eternal, or timeless realm, that's the anchor that then modulates or tempers the other one. So no matter what happens in the world or in my own personal life, um, when I get in touch with that, when I'm quiet and get still and to get in touch with that, that makes it okay. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be affected by emotionally and stuff, but it's
Yeah.
not going to overwhelm me like it did at one time. So
Yeah.
that's the way each of us has that ability, but it entails quieting the mind, the incessant chatter that goes on, and the mind will say, "Oh, you're wasting your time doing that. You got more important things to do. You don't have time to deal with that spiritual stuff." And that's the ego, the thinking that wants us, to keep us trapped. So that's, I think, for me, that's been the key to not being overwhelmed by whatever happens to it, because as Schroeder said, there's one consciousness that is kind of phasing everything else, and we're all tied to that. So in a sense, you can see that there's a sort of a consciousness behind everything that's happening. I mean, all the suffering, all the things that happened to me in my life. I mean, I can see now that, well, that's fine. I'm glad it did happen that way, because today I'm a very, a joyful person, and I'm very different from what I had been at one time. So
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you're a joyful person, and I really enjoy your energy and your demeanor and the way in which you operate, and I'm sure it's an inspiration for everyone who is around you. And something that I want to make sure that our audience knows is how they can work with you, and how they can bring you to speak and to teach these concepts to their group. So can you tell us a little bit about how people can interview you and learn from you?
yeah, I would say just contact me through my email. I have a website, but it's I haven't been paying much attention to it lately, so I don't know how active it is. But yeah, cutbanks at Jerry Schaefer. I don't know my own email at
Yeah.
cutbanks. Dot. You probably know it, but I have to show you something. What I've been wearing lately is my happiness hat. This is
Ah, oh, that is so lovely.
so.
Oh, gosh, that is amazing. I want one.
I mean, I wore the hat at like a rave a music event, and then all these people were coming up and clipping all these things on him. And I didn't know what it looked like till I got home, and I thought, wow, look at that. So I've
That
been
is
wearing it. I wear it every time I go out in public, and
wow. So that was like a joint effort.
yeah, yeah.
My
So it's either like a fun hat, and I mean, it invites happiness in others. People smile and hey, that's a nice hat, and so I love it.
That's wonderful. Well, it brings I think, an immediate smile to my face, to anyone's face. Yeah, and so we will put the email and everything else on the show notes, and yeah, you and I are gonna work on that website because it needs to not be neglected.
Yeah.
Um,
Right, right, right.
one thing that I wanted to ask you, Jerry, is um the concept of paradise, it sounds really beautiful in theory. And so I love that you are giving us very simple practical tools to start connecting with that concept. I think that it sounds very simple for many people, and because it feels unbelievable. And so you have been in a monastery, you have been religious, you've been party hardy, as you call it. And you had all of these experiences in the 70s. You had all of the spectrum. So what is it that you can give to people who have maybe a little bit of skepticism of how easy it is to flip the switch and to turn the script. Um, what is something that you can tell them that can maybe help them believe that this is a possible state, besides obviously how joyful you are, and your experience traveling all these countries and living all these different roles in your life.
Well, each day, every day that I wake up in the morning, I just if I gotten a good night's sleep, which I mostly do these days, I wake up and I mean, I just feel restored, like it's a new, every day is a new life, like to create a new me, because we're always changing and a new universe. To wake up and, just think of the words health, harmony, happiness. That's going to be my day. That's what I'm looking to create today. And yeah, it seems like simple, but it's taken me a long time to find it, to discover it. But anybody can do it simply by taking a moment and trying to allow it. I mean, I think it's within each of us. It's just a matter of discovering it and allowing it to come out. It's within each of us, but just it entails just take a moment, sit down in a quiet room and just try to be quiet for a minute, or and see if we can stop the thoughts from taking over. In that space that opens up
Mhm.
can come a light, something positive. It's just a matter of allowing, taking out the time. But everybody's so busy. I got this. I don't have time for that. But
Yeah.
I think it's accessible to anyone. They just need to want it. And I mean,
Mm.
that's where suffering comes in a lot. If a lot of times we have to suffer a lot before we finally realize, oh, I got to do something. We're in a way, suffering forces us to confront that reality that, yeah, it's not everything out there. It's everything inside that's
Mm.
where it starts.
Oh, I really love that. And yeah, I love what you said. You just have to believe it. So we choose to believe so many things. And we choose to engage in so many things. Like, sometimes I'm on TikTok a lot longer than I thought I would be there. So I think it's a good experiment. I think, it would be good for all of us to try it. It doesn't take too long, and it doesn't cost any money, and it's very simple. So I think, what do you think? Comment with us, comment below if you're willing to give it a try and to just make an experiment, see how this works for you. I mean, um, Ali says that you are great because there are many things to life that we haven't yet explored. Jerry from the LBC. I don't know what the LBC is. Tell me what is the LBC?
Yeah, Long Beach community, Long LBC.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not.
I guess so. I guess Ali was reading your title there, Long Beach, California. Okay, got it. Yeah, so yeah, any of you who want to comment and see what are you taking out of this conversation, and how are you going to apply what Jerry shared? And again, I'm gonna ask it again. Are you willing to make an experiment and to see if every day you can wake up and like Jerry does, say those three words and take that deep breath and invest a bit of time. Because I know you said like we're all so busy, but there are some things that can be put away. I can give up a few minutes of TikTok.
Yeah, how long does it take to do one breath?
Exactly. No, and it's interesting that you say that because having been in a state of coma and, the experience of not being able to breathe on my own for many days, the first time that I actually came back to my body and could breathe, that was such a gift that I had taken for granted for a long time. And so I think that it is something that we forget how precious it is. And you said like treat every moment as if it's sacred, and it is.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for giving us that tool and for sharing your story with us. Is there anything else that you want to share before our time is up today? Because it's almost up.
No, I'm just excited by the possibility that you've opened up to for me to share my story and to talk about what has been so helpful to me, and that I want to others to have experience as well. So I appreciate that. Appreciate your willingness and your program.
Oh, thank you so much, Jerry. I am really, really grateful for you, grateful for your story. We're also working on another one for the Gifts of Pain, so stay tuned, everybody. And yeah, I want to invite everyone to make sure to connect with you. You have an Instagram and a LinkedIn. All of that is going to be in the show notes. And I know you're not very active there, but let's start following Jerry. Post, you can stay in tune, and also your email address so that they can communicate with you directly, and so that they can interview you, book you to speak or to teach and facilitate a class or lecture, because Jerry has so much amazing wisdom and knowledge and practical tips and strategies that he can share with us as an avid student of how life works and how paradise can be created right here, and so that we can stop living in a hell state and move into a state of harmony, health, and happiness. Thank you, Jerry, for the work that you do.
You're welcome. Thank
And
you for your work, Elena. Very good.
I appreciate you, and it's been an honor to interview you today. And all of you, thank you so much for tuning into the Transformational Storyteller Show. Today, I will see you next Thursday, and I love you. Bye.
Thank you, Elena. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening.